Hi guys, it's Nicole and I'm back with a layout that I created at a recent local crop. I had shown in my packing video that I was going to be taking my Creating with Collections kit, which is the Cocoa Vanilla kit that I'm using. This is also the series that Sara Scraps is playing along with. However, she's not going to be playing along today because I think I goofed and I didn't forewarn her that I was going to get a lot of this stuff done at the crop. I packed it, but I wasn't really sure what I was going to want to work on when I got there. I tend to have some issues with like focus and just kind of making decisions, and overall just kind of my workflow is just different because I'm not at home. My filming's different. It's a whole thing. So there will not be a video from Sara today. There will be one on the 8th. And there might be a couple extra ones from like this sprinkled in where she's also not participating. She is, oh, that's Rochelle, the host of the crop and the owner of the scrap room. She usually comes and finds me filming and pops in on a video. And my setup this year was actually overhead, so she slid in real quick. But back to what I was saying, I might have a couple videos where Sara is not playing along because she is super organized and kind of plans out her content for the month, especially for March, because if I remember correctly, she's taking some time off or she's got a trip or something where she's not going to be crafting and having videos up in like her normal timeline. So she's kind of pre-prepping, and so for sure we're going to have one together on the 8th. But I kind of knew that something like this was going to happen just based on different styles in organizing, but also the fact that while we have similar sized kits, I know that somewhere along this process we're going to run into an issue where one of us, quote unquote, finishes or kills the kit and the other one is sort of still eking out layouts with it. So it's one of those things where it's just going to kind of, I don't know where that's going to happen. I do apologize that this series was started so long ago. I kind of hate that I left her lingering, but different things going on in life, different things kind of going on in this hobby and stuff just kind of threw me off, and I kind of needed to wait until I wanted to get back into it. And I definitely think that Rochelle's crop was sort of that driving factor for me. So I pretty much only worked on this kit while I was there. I was much slower just because of the different things that I was doing with the layouts, and they just tend to take a little bit more time. In the past, I've always taken like Scrapbook Generation, like pre-made kits where you just kind of follow the directions, you bring some tools, maybe some letter stickers or something, and I can kind of get through those pretty quickly. Because I'm following sketches in this instance, it's slower because I do work on sketches slower. So this specific layout is also part of the Sketches with 4x6 photos, which was a Facebook like class group thing that Allison Davis ran where we all worked through the sketches. I've done some of them, but I didn't work in order. I've learned to just work on the ones that I like first, the ones that I can kind of match photos up to and go with that. This one in particular is sketch 9. I did follow it pretty closely, other than the fact that I added 2 additional 4x6 photos to the right, and I rotated the photo that's on the left. And then I was debating about following, if you know the sketch, there's 3 rows of hearts that have stitching through them. I debated about it because of the time involved. And I was like, you know what? I like it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do what I would do if I was sitting at home in my room and like stop like giving myself these like speed bumps of I'm at a crop, I should hurry up. It was a 2-day crop this year instead of a 1-day crop. So I just tried to, what would I do if I was at home? So I went through a lot of the scrap papers that I had. I also decided to pull out a bunch of those 3x4 cards because I already know my own style. I already know the things that I tend to gravitate towards, and I know that those 3x4 cards are going to be a challenge where I'm going to need to find like a specific sketch or think of a specific design use for those. So I went through and pulled out some that I knew 100% I was never going to use, like the phrase that was on it, and whatever was around the phrase was a good like B-side or a solid. And so I used a lot of those to cut out some of these patterns. So like if you have this collection and you're wondering like, well, where did she get that color or where did she get that pattern from? I really looked at those 3x4 cards. Some of those, like the red hearts, there wasn't any red pattern papers in this entire collection. However, there are some red elements in the patterns. So the only way that I could find that red was from the big piece that I trimmed the 1/4 inch strips from. It's like rainbow order swatches of like paint almost. I used the 6x8 of those because I think I had already cut into them, and it was sort of one of those things where I was trying to use paper that I had already cut into for die cutting. And I just strategically placed my hearts where they were going to touch the red, and then I even went into some of the pink areas, mostly because I wanted this like rainbow order of the hearts going down. I'm noticing that I do that a lot with this collection, especially when I'm using those rainbow like border strips. I just like it. It looks good to me. I like it better than like a random array. I don't do random array very well, but I can nail a rainbow, so I tend to lean into that. You gotta kind of go with the things that you know you enjoy the process of as well as the end result. And when I'm gluing them down, I just made sure that I was kind of only putting the glue sort of on like the humps of the hearts, because I knew that I was going to go back and do some hand stitching, and I don't like, if I can avoid hand stitching through liquid glue, I try to do that just because it does gum up the needle a little bit. And the hand stitching is really what is actually going to hold these hearts on. So I'm just putting enough adhesive on there to kind of keep them in place. I did try to use my ruler to at least make sure that they were somewhat lined up. This is one of those designs that you can kind of eyeball it just because of the shape of a heart. It's gonna kind of look lined up anyways. I think if this was something more like squares or hexagons, I would have had to really focus and do some paper math, and we all know that that's not a strength of mine. So I did pack a bunch of like colored threads, but I pulled out the neutrals that I had ready to go in like my little stitching pack, and I just worked my way down a row of hearts. When I do this, I'm not actually looking at the measurements on the ruler. I like to eyeball the spacing because typically the spacing on these rulers is either too small or too wide for my personal preference. And it's one of those things where you do something enough times repetitively, it becomes kind of like a muscle memory. You know the way you like it done, and you can kind of eyeball it. So yeah, I know a lot of people would be like, I don't have the time or patience for this. I enjoy stitching. I cross stitch downstairs, and I notice that I cross stitch more like the more on like days where I'm just really not in the mood to do anything. Oh, and these are all out of order. This was Friday night. I'm not driving anywhere. I have a hotel room at the location. So I had gone back to my room to get some grape juice. So you guys can enjoy my grape juice. I don't think I could have gotten it out of frame if I had tried. These tables were actually pretty narrow. I brought 2 mats with me. I think I mentioned it in the video, I don't remember. I brought 2 mats because I wasn't 100% on my memory of the tables. Turns out they were narrow. So my Tim Holtz mat just barely fit. My preference on filming is to be a little bit wider of a shot so that you can actually see both pages together. However, this was as wide as I could get with the tripod that I had bought. But this was a way better like filming setup. than previous years where the only thing that had kind of worked out for me was to tuck it into like my tool bag and have it like tilted and you guys could see like the side of my layout. This was way better. For $20, this was a good thing, and I actually like the fact that it clamps onto anything. So if I decide that I want to work on something like downstairs, I can actually film at my dining room table and it's not an issue. Like I can just kind of keep working on stuff. Fun fact, I still have not unpacked from this crop because I don't want to unpack until I clean my room. So I might actually be filming some videos downstairs because time lately is just not available to me. I feel like every time I turn around, one of my kids has signed up for some other thing that I need to drive them to or somehow fit into our schedule. So after I stitched all those hearts, I did cut a sticker apart to use as like photo corners. I added a label, a phrase sticker. Now I went and made some little tiny hearts. I used my favorite Lawn Fawn die. If I can find it, I'll link it below. I feel like I just sent somebody a link for these. I think these are an older product, possibly retired, so they are a little bit harder to find, but you can find them. Because they're solid, they're a little bit harder if you're trying to like specifically cut like an image or like a specific detail. But these are my favorite shape, hands down. I have 2 sets because I like to stack them and it's a lot of die cutting. But again, things like stitching and die cutting, I enjoy. Somebody else might find that stressful and annoying. I find it relaxing and calming. So you do you, because I'm doing me. Like and unfortunately I used them a lot during this crop. So if you hate these tiny hearts, just, I don't know, fast forward. There's a fast forward. So I did use some of the bigger sizes over here on the right. The sketch had some kind of depiction of some hearts going on over there. Most of the time when I use a sketch by this point, I am kind of already deviating and deciding to put things in different places based on the way that my photo arrangement is or where the open or like blank spaces are in my photos. Like a lot of times I'll go use a sketch and maybe they will have put like a creatively designed title or embellishment cluster on part of the photo, but maybe my photo, that's somebody's face. So I tend to kind of look at sketches and pick and choose the elements that I like and change the ones that either I don't like or they don't work for me. I did keep this little box out the majority of the time because I just kept finding that I needed more hearts. They're too addicting. Here I found one floating around and decided to add it because it was that red color. I had forgotten that I cut some extra ones of the red because, like I said, there was not a lot of red on its own in this collection. Now, at this point, I am putting my title in the general area, or no, actually I moved it. In the sketch, it's above the photo. I moved it below. I liked it better below. So when I put my photo on, I just made sure that the gap underneath the photo was a little bit bigger. These are our family photos, so I don't typically journal on these. A lot of times I'll just put like the location and the year on the photos of like all 4 of us, and then I will usually journal on the layout that I make that's just photos of my son, and then the one that's just photos of my daughter. I did work on the one of my daughter at the crop. I just need to go through and get in the right headspace to type up the journaling, and I can finish her layout. But I did complete, I want to say like 3 of them. So 2 of the ones I brought do need journaling, but 3 of them are ready to go for like video purposes. I did go ahead and do stacked die cut letters. If you know, you know. Make some DIY thickers. This alphabet set, I'm pretty sure I used on a couple layouts. It's from Lawn Fawn. I want to say it's Henry's ABCs. I'm not 100% sure. Again, I'll link it. This one should still be available. I really like it, and I especially like it for like kid type stuff because to me it's a more fun and playful font in comparison to like the tall skinny one from scrapbook.com or even like the bold one from scrapbook.com. To me those are just like super traditional, and sometimes I like a more fun, playful type of font for things with my kids. So I did 3 layers of a white cardstock, which I think in the next video I'm gonna actually change this up. And I got a little, well, I got smart on my die cut layers. However, this was later in the night and I was tired and I forgot what my plan was, but I'll go into that on another video. I brought some white cardstock and my bag of like white cardstock scraps that I specifically try to reuse for stacked die cutting. So yeah. So I just split my title. Half of it is in those titles, half of it is in the larger die cut letters. And then at this point, I still wasn't sure what color I wanted to put on top, and I was really annoyed because I wanted red. This is hitting at the bottom of that rainbow. Everything is in rainbow order. It needs to be red. I did bring my inks. I thought about inking it up, but nothing else on this page was inked, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. So I went ahead and pulled out the second sheet of the paper that I had used for the hearts, and I'll admit, I was hoarding it. This is probably my favorite pattern in the whole thing, and I was hoarding it, and I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can fit the whole title down here on this red area, and we're just gonna cut into this paper, and I'm gonna waste it. I'm not wasting it. You guys know. And I figured out it was gonna fit, and it was gonna look perfect. It was gonna be like the exact paper it needed to be for that like rainbow blend. So I'm gonna do it. And it felt good to kind of break that mentality of knowing that I was hoarding that paper and knowing that I needed to just go ahead and use it and have it live its best life on that layout, where whatever unknown purpose me hoarding that paper for some other use was dumb in this instance. Like, the whole point of this series is to use this stuff up. And I already know that one of the ways I'm going to use this stuff up is for die cutting. I can already tell that I'm having a hard time using the stickers and I'm having a hard time using some of the pre-cut die cuts. I know I will get them used, or at least to my level of calling them done, but I know that my style of embellishing, I'm going to want to add some other stuff. And I'm gonna need to make my own embellishments. I'm gonna need to do some die cutting and some things like that. I definitely think knowing your style, knowing the things that you like, is going to help navigate a challenge like trying to kill a kit. Like, you don't want to go into something like that where you're going to be using product for a long time and also doing something that like you don't enjoy. Like, if you don't enjoy mixed media or something like that, I wouldn't try to combine a challenge like this with a technique that you don't like. So in order to keep myself like loving this kit is to do things that I really enjoy, which is going to be stacked die cuts, it's going to be these tiny hearts, it's going to be stitching, it's going to be, I'm sure at some point I'll get into the photo collages. It's going to be doing things that I absolutely love. I did go back and I feel like every layout I go through the stickers 2 or 3 times and try to find a use for something. I need to get these stickers used up. I have 2 sheets of them because I bought them. I didn't realize I bought 2, so now I have 2. So that's my completed layout. I know the angle's not that great, but at least it was overhead and you can see what I'm doing. Again, I'm sorry that Sara isn't going to have a video playing along today. However, I am continuing through this series and we will be back on the 8th with a video together. And I am super excited to see what she is using with this kit. And as always, I thank you guys for spending a little bit of your day with me and letting me ramble. And I will catch you guys in another video.